in the city.
Yeah, we've had to do it before, so.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. Officially Season 4 of Hardcore PSUFB. No more talking about last year. The focus is now on this year. And a lot to talk about. The coaching carousel, transfer portal, and where does Penn State go from here? So, thank you guys for being here. No offseason. Let's get right into the show. Apologize for everybody on YouTube that has been hanging out for a little bit. Shaking off the rust a little bit. We had some technical difficulties there. Yeah, just like that, Sean. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How are you doing today, Sean?
Not too shabby, Cory. It's been a while since I've seen you, since I've been with all of you. So happy to be back. Just, getting over my total and complete outrage over Taylor Swift ruining football.
You can't handle the 0.26% that she's been on television?
It just drives me nuts. It ruins my whole experience, and I want to die.
If you had to choose between no more Taylor Swift or no more Tony Romo in your NFL Sunday, which one would you choose?
Oh, well, that's easy. No more Tony Romo, because I'm actually serious about Romo.
Right.
And we get them both. We get them both on the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't get the Fox broadcast for that. But
I know. Yeah, they crush it. I think Fox definitely has the best one team, but Tom Brady's coming in for Greg Olsen next year, which I just kind of think is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's going to be the number one, which I really don't know. And I'm not saying it because I hate Tom Brady, which all the listeners know that have listened to us for a while. I don't know if he's going to be good on television. He just never seemed like that engaging of a personality, to me, at least. And
yeah, that's true. I think you got to earn it to a certain degree. Like Tony Romo, correct me if I'm wrong, but did he go right to number one right away?
He did. Okay.
But
like Romo was always pretty good in front of a camera. Like Brady,
good commercials too when he's on Corona.
Yeah, like Brady, all of his press conferences were pretty much the same. He'd just be like, shucks, we just won again and we just on to the next one. And it was the same press conference all the time. Like he never said anything interesting. He just won a lot of games, which, give him credit for, but I just never really thought of him as a media star.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm not necessarily too excited about that. Well, I'm trying to think the last time that we recorded, Sean. I know that there was obviously some Penn State news since the last time we spoke. I know it was the Hardee's show, but when was that released? Was that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks? Okay. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What have you done with your time off?
Well, I had a birthday, so I am now 29,
That's right.
Which feels the same way as 28.
I did
Not a
remember to
whole.
text you, so I feel like I'm a decent co-host.
You did. You did. Yeah, I still didn't get to taking down my Christmas tree. I'm kind of
Really?
embarrassed to admit.
That is
Yes,
embarrassing.
a little bit, but as Taylor says, we could leave the Christmas lights up till January. So
You want a
our
fun
Christmas
fact
lights
about
are
that?
up till January. Yeah.
So in Alaska, we have a tradition that you don't take your Christmas lights down until the final uh, racer in the Iditarod finishes.
When does that take place?
March.
Oh wow.
So you got some time there.
Well, I mean, it's so dark, and is this like the dark time in Alaska where it's
It
dark all the
is.
time? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
that
it
makes some
honestly
more
doesn't
sense.
look awful, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So where Pennsylvania, it's a little bit different. I know, like typically what my family does, what we did last year, we would uh, keep them up till none of us celebration Christmas.
So you have it in your blood. It's not really your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Some people take their Christmas tree down like the day after Christmas, and that's just never been me.
Yeah, no, we got ahead of it a little bit. We're good. I think it's not the tree itself, it's about putting everything else away. That is the issue.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. If it
not
was just taking the tree down, it wouldn't be as bad.
it's kind of like moving on from the college football season and moving into what we're going to call the pre-spring season. Um, it's easy to harp on the 2023 season, and it's easy to just talk about the Peach Bowl and talk about what maybe wasn't being able to be accomplished. A lot harder to kind of pack that up and walk away from it and move on. And well, we did that last episode of the Hardies. We finished our talk on 2023, and now we've moved to the 2024 season. We Since the last time we spoke, the transfer portal was closed, so we got the transfer portal itself done. But we do have a fan question revolving around a transfer portal a little bit later, as far as where Penn State's at. I think both you and I would agree that we still have some work to do. Penn State has some work to do in a transfer portal when it opens back up after spring practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I still want another receiver for sure. It seems like we're good at corner. I do think AJ Harris will be a starter for Penn State next year. I'm a little less sure about Kimber and where he's going to fit in, but I do think he's going. I do think he's going to play. I don't think he would transfer here if he wasn't going to. If he didn't have aspirations to play. So I think we're good at corner. The big thing is getting another receiver in my view. Um, I I could probably. I mean, we don't. Maybe an option, but honestly, so we'll have like right now the offensive line: Rucci, Wormley, um, Dawkins or Benga. I have some ideas for center. Um, who else do I have? Nelson and Drew Shelton. I feel good about that, I think, but I think right tackle is still a big question mark because Nolan Rucci has never started a game in college football. So I still think that right tackle spot, bit of a question mark.
Yeah, I would say so, especially since Caden Wallace is doing really well so far in the bowl practices for himself there. Just in general, right? When you lose two offensive tackles in your center, like you got a lot to figure out. I mean, that's just no other way to put it. It doesn't matter how much talent you have coming back. It's not just an easy solution, or at least it's not enough where you aren't at least questioning it in January, which that's what we're doing. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we'll see with some of the positions, right? We'll see where they're at. But I think we all agree probably need to get another wide receiver. Mason Stahl entered the transfer portal recently as well. So that's officially 3 Penn State wide receivers that have entered the portal. Christian Driver, Stahl, and then Dante Cephas. say what you like. Driver didn't play very much at that point. Came in originally as a corner or a safety, and then Stahl, I think maybe had a handful of catches over his career, if that. So nothing crazy yet. We haven't seen like a huge exodus as far as Keandre Lambert-Smith or a Trey Wallace or an Amari Evans, but um, still makes you wonder where they're at. We've heard some good whispering, Sean, hint and nudge nudge about what Julian Fleming's done so far since he's been on campus and perhaps some of the leadership that he's been able to provide. But it's a long way to go in that room. And I don't think it matters how many positive things we hear throughout February to August. It's not going to really matter, I think, to the fans until they see the results on the field.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be one of those I'll believe it when I see it type things, because last year we came in with a lot of question marks at receiver, and I was more in the camp that it'll work out because I did think there was talent there, and obviously last season happened. I do think it's big, potentially very big, to have Keandre Lambert-Smith back, because nobody ever questioned Keandre Lambert-Smith's talent, and we've been very, very tough on Keandre Lambert-Smith these past couple months, but I've never doubted his ability. His issues stem from everything you've heard from James Franklin himself. His issues are related to maturity, and I was hoping he'd be a little bit more grown up. And it turned out he wasn't. But maybe having a guy like Julian Fleming in the room, who has been part of superstar receiving corps and knows how to succeed, knows what it's like to be around great talent and to learn from great coaches, that could rub off on a guy like Keandre Lambert-Smith, and that might just be the kick that he needs to get better. And it's not just him either. I think Kane Saunders has a lot of talent. I think Omari Evans, who we talk about all the time, has a lot of talent. So it's not. I don't really buy that it's a talent issue. I thought it was more of a culture issue, and bringing in a guy like Julian Fleming and then bringing another person in who I think we need, which I think Cory and I both agree we need to do. I think that could fix a lot in the receiving room, and Drew Aller improving will also help the wide receivers improve.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go to the fan question early since we've gone down this rabbit hole. And this question is from Devin, and he says, now that the portal additions are about finished, do you think Penn State did enough to compete for a Big Ten title? If not, barring some kind of surprise run in 2024, would you be ready to call the Aller era somewhat of a failure if no Big Ten titles heading into his senior season or draft? Well, and that's deep for a January question. Let's start with that first part, Sean. Has Penn State done enough so far to compete for a Big Ten title? Well, besides maybe adding another receiver, I would say yes. They went out, got some defensive backs. We thought they needed to do that, especially after what we saw in the Peach Bowl. We thought they needed to get at least one more piece along the offensive line, and they did that in a miss that they had in the recruiting cycle, getting Nolan Rucci. So in that regard, I would say yes. However, it's deeper than that because, in my opinion, losing your offense coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, all raw. I mean, you could hope they're going to be good, but you really don't know. We really don't have any idea. We don't know what exactly to expect. It's going to be a hard season to predict because, yes, you could see improvements at every position, but you could also see things kind of decline. And in aspect, I would say they've done Yeah, I would say they maybe have done enough. I don't know if they've exceeded expectations by any stretch, but I think they've done enough, Sean, to at least give themselves a chance at this point, January 31st, to compete.
I don't. I think they're still pretty far behind Ohio State, especially after what Ohio State did in the portal. Ohio State's bringing back not every big time contributor from a season ago. Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously is going to be a loss, but they brought back a lot, and they've done quite a bit in the portal. They've feasted on Alabama, bringing their star safety in there. Um, and I believe another player as well, Julian Sand. I believe he's going to Ohio State too, the quarterback. So I think you have a loaded Oregon team that I still think Penn State is behind. Maybe they're ahead of Michigan, but it doesn't make me feel great that I'm saying, but they just won the national championship. So it's hard for me to put them above Michigan too. So right now I think you gotta say you're third or fourth. And if you're not in that top two, I don't know how I could say that you're seriously competing for a Big Ten championship, right? That you're a serious competitor for a Big Ten championship right now.
Yeah, but I don't know what they would have realistically done in the transfer portal to make up that ground to Ohio State. Like realistically, right? I mean, Ohio State did get better. You're right, but yeah, and the Oregon thing, like, yeah, you're right, but we also don't know what Oregon exactly is going to be next year. They're losing some pretty big pieces there as well. I know they've brought in some good pieces, but again, every time you reset, yes, it can work out well, but it also has potential to not work out. Even if, I see what you're saying, top two as far as being able to compete. I would stretch that a little bit further. I would say probably your top four means you're a game away, but teach their own there. If they do not win a Big Ten championship, the Drew Aller era at that point considered a failure?
It kind of depends on how next season goes, because if we go 11-1, but we just kind of fall short to go to Indy, not necessarily then. But because then you still have a chance, especially next season, to compete for a national championship. So it kind of depends on how next season goes. Now, if we're 10-2 again, even if we make the playoff and we like lose in the first round, then yes, this was a huge disappointment. Because really, guys, looking at our early look at the schedule next year, Penn State is probably going to be favored in every game except Ohio State. So expectation, if you're just taking a gamble, if you're just looking at it now, I also don't know how great USC is going to be, so maybe that changes. But like right now, from a gambler's perspective, yeah, Penn State's probably going to be an early favorite in all these games except Ohio State. So 11-1 conceivably could be in the cards, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I think Penn State lucks out not having to play Oregon or Michigan next year. I know, again, Michigan's going to be without some pieces, but still, kind of lucked out in that regard. Sean, I got a different question for you. Are you paying too much for health insurance? Too busy to read long, complicated policies? Meet Patrick Motti of Motti Health, a former Penn State letterman and your new health insurance coach. Patrick leverages years of expertise to offer customized to help you develop a coverage game plan that secures your family's health and future. As a father, Patrick understands the importance of reliable health coverage for your family. From individual plans to family coverage, Patrick ensures you get the best protection for your health and budget. Motti Health, one broker, endless solutions. Now offering up to a $500 cash bonus for every customer referral. So quit overpaying for health insurance. Visit MottiHealth.com to schedule a free consultation with Patrick today. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone corporate.
You asked me a lot of questions there, Corey. I had to think about my insurance, but perhaps I'll give Patrick a call.
All you really need to know is Maudie, health insurance. What else you need? What other questions could you honestly have?
This is true. I better call Maudie House Insurance.
Probably a couple.
So.
Yeah.
Got
fun.
Yes, that was very fun.
I think the best way to do that is to randomly get people. So that's what we're going to do with this. And for anyone who was listening, if management was listening, I'll record that again since I know that the output has not been very good on the live stream. People that are watching live, I apologize for the just awful connectivity. And I have to have a phone call with Xfinity at some point this week.
Let him have it.
Speaking of health coverage, though, are you going to need additional health coverage to get through this upcoming season, Sean? Are you going to be able to survive what potentially could see? Like when I look at this season, I see it as like a kind of like 2022 in the sense that I expect a lot of predictions to be. I don't want to say some people take 7-5, but I think honestly some people might go 7-5 and some people might go 10-2. I think that's kind of the range you're talking about, and I feel like I'm worried about your health, Sean.
I mean, I might need some new insurance. I certainly needed it last year. But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying about it. Could be a lot like 2022, and there are going to be people who get hot takey and go, "We're going to go 6-6," because every year, especially at following a year which was disappointing, that happens. I would remind people that outside the COVID year, we've only gone 7-5 once since 2015. So it's a very rare thing at Penn State to go 7-5. So I would tell people to be cautious with that. But yeah, I'm kind of ready for that range. I still don't know what I'm gonna predict for this coming year. I just don't have the energy right now to really
I don't blame you
think
there.
too hard about season predictions and things like that. Part of it is I don't know who's going to be on the team next year. I mean, we still have the portal again after spring ball, so we'll add some more players. We're going to lose some more players in all likelihood. So I still don't know who's all going to be on the team. Like Keon Coleman didn't go to Florida State until the second portal last season. So if we could land somebody like that, maybe that makes me change my mind on a game or two. But yeah, I hope it's smooth sailing. Like the 2022, honestly, I expected to lose to Ohio State. The Michigan game was definitely disappointing, but I feel like everybody had a good taste in their mouth leaving 2022, where 2023 it was just kind of the opposite. So
yeah, so let me ask you this:
have
the expectations
different?
No. How the expectations are I don't think they're going to be as high this year. I mean, where are you at with that?
Yeah, probably not. And I think there are a lot of fans out there who, especially when it comes to a game like Ohio State, I think they're like, we're just going to lose again. And I think that's what a lot of fans feel like right now. And
that hurt.
But like, could you blame them for having a defeatist
completely.
attitude? I mean, you don't want to get your hopes up again. And last season, so many people were picking Penn State to beat Ohio State, and then we go out there and lay an egg, and it's like, here we go again, same old Penn State losing at Ohio State. And I just think there are a lot of people that were really disappointed and probably feel kind of hurt by how the season went. And I can understand where they're coming from. And then I think there's a lot of uncertainty about the West Coast teams. I think most people are going to talk about the coaching carousel. Caleb DeBoer is no longer at Washington, and they did lose.
It's a good transition.
Yeah, they lost quite a bit in the portal. I still think they have a chance to be pretty good. Jed Fish is a good coach. So, but they're coming out here. So I think early on, I'd like Penn State's chances. UCLA comes here. It's another one. I probably lean Penn State, but then you got to go to USC. And I don't know, like if Lincoln Riley could ever have a good defense, it's going to be a challenge going out to Southern California in the middle of the season and having to try to win a game. So that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough going to West Virginia. The West Virginia game feels a lot like the Purdue game going into 2022. Like if you lose that game, ooh, we are in trouble. And brace for impact because it could get ugly.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So like you said, DeBoer goes to Alabama. Nick Saban retires. Nick Saban, a pretty decent coach when it was all said and done, I guess.
Wasn't bad.
Just recently, the defensive back from Washington, Muhammad, he just transferred to Oregon. So Oregon picked up another defensive back there. In the Big Ten, coaching carousel-wise, Harbaugh goes to the Chargers. They promote Sharon Moore from offensive coordinator to head coach. I don't know exactly all who have left the Michigan staff. I know that they lost their defensive coordinator and I know they lost their strength coach. I don't have a huge list off the top of my head, right next to me, but they've lost a couple of pieces already. So it's gonna be a skeleton of what was there when Harbaugh was there, but Moore is there. And we talked about if Harbaugh would leave on a previous episode that we thought Moore would be the right pick. But Shawn, I'm not saying it's the wrong pick, but to me, it's still interesting. And maybe they did look around a little bit and they just said no, but it was so quick. I think they actually, in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, you have to post a public government job for at least 7 days. And there was rumblings that they illegally hired more ahead of time before letting those 7 days. That's how quickly they went about it. So I don't know how much they really looked around. And I understand that they didn't, right? You got a guy who's dedicated, whatever. Keep the recruiting class hopefully mostly intact. But Shawn, this is Michigan. You just won a national championship. Alabama just lost Nick Saban. Georgia's still there. I get that. But there's an opportunity perhaps at a window to maybe climb on top of the mountaintop and sit down and camp on the peak for a little bit. Now, losing your head coach and Harbaugh is going to hurt that opportunity. But was this their chance to go make a bigger splash? I don't even know who that splash would have been, but they did the safe option. And I think you and I agree was probably the correct one. But was it a missed opportunity perhaps to go get somebody bigger and maybe, I don't know, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a high risk, high reward situation. But I still say you have a pretty big risk with Moore, given we haven't really seen what he's been able to do without Harbaugh.
Yeah, I'm of split minds on it. So on one hand, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You just won the national championship. Sharon Moore was the head coach on the sidelines to beat Penn State on the road, to beat Ohio State. And he did a good job. The Penn State game, it took a lot of guts to just run the ball because so many coaches, they would think, well, we can't just run the ball the whole game. What if this happens? What if that happens? Where he said, look, Penn State's offense is doing nothing. Let's just run the ball, take the ball out of JJ's hands. We can't block Chop Robinson. And let's just stay committed to the run, and we're going to win this game. We're going to break a run at some point. And that's what ended up happening. And not every coach would be willing and patient enough to do that. To say, okay, we'll have a 3-and-out here and there. Who cares? They're not going to do anything. And we'll play field position. He beat Ohio State. That's obviously at Michigan. That's kind of the end all be all. And he got that Michigan win, and kept them afloat. So it made sense to continue to build on the culture that Harbaugh established. On the other hand, giving a job like Michigan, and there are about 10 jobs in America like this, giving a job like that to who's never been a head coach before, like the head coach 365 days before, that's a big risk. A job like Michigan really isn't the best for on-the-job training, and I I'm not sure. Like that's what obviously makes people hesitate about it. Um, it's a little bit like Ryan Day taking. It's a lot of like Ryan Day taking the Ohio State job, and I would argue Ryan Day has done well at Ohio State. I know a lot of Ohio State fans would vehemently disagree with me, but I mean, he's gotten you the national championship. He's gotten you the playoff before. I know he has 3 straight losses to Michigan, but he's done well. Like they've done really, really well. They've won the Big Ten a bunch of times. So overall, I think you'd have to be happy with how that worked out. And think about Michigan back in the mid 90s. They fired their old coach, the guy after Bo, Gary Mueller. They brought in Lloyd Carr, who never coached before. He won a national championship. So it could work, but I'm not positive that it will. So sometimes the safe pick, it always comes with risks. There's no such thing as the safe pick in college football.
Yeah, and there's so many different factors to it. It's hard to sit there and say, is it a good fit or not? Speaking of good fit or not, maybe an odd fit, Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator now at Ohio State. Something I never thought I would say. Just remember when he brought our boss Hackenberg and company out to the Horseshoe, and Ohio State beat the brakes out of us, like 63-14 or whatever. And now Bill O'Brien will be on that sideline. It's just strange to me, in a couple of reasons. Number one, never really thought Bill O'Brien. I was surprised when he took the Alabama gig. Never thought he really would want to be an offensive coordinator again in college, just because I didn't think he really liked being a college coach. So that was a little surprising, but it's Alabama, so understandable to a certain degree. But now to go back and go to Ohio State, maybe there's Alabama, but I mean, Ryan Day is not doing what Alabama was doing for offensive coordinators. Like Nick Saban was churning out offensive coordinators and head coaches like a Ford factory. And so I think it's a little interesting. I'll say it's interesting.
Was in court.
But Sean, it's weird. It's a weird fit in my opinion. He does reunite with Larry Johnson Sr., who's part of the staff when he was at Penn State. But overall, I think it's a pretty weird hire and a weird choice by Ohio State.
Yeah, because you think of Bill O'Brien, you think of a Patriot type offense, more pro style, not as much spread like Ryan Day likes to run. Now, from what I understand, Bill O'Brien, it's not going to be his offense. It's going to be Ryan Day's offense, but Bill O'Brien's going to be calling the plays. At least that's how I understand the dynamic is going to be. So that makes me think that they're going to just run the ball more. They're going to be committed to the run. And I think when you look at their quarterback situation, when you look at their now Buka does come back. That's a huge piece to come back next year. But still, I don't know about their quarterbacks. It's either going to be Will Howard from Kansas State or Devin Brown or the guy that just got from Bama, Sayan. So those are Howard's a decent quarterback, but I think he's more on the Kyle McCord level. Devin Brown couldn't beat out Kyle McCord, so what does that tell you? And Sayan's a freshman. So not the best situation that they're looking at. So I just think they're going to be more of a run-heavy team next season. I think that's really what it tells me. My feelings are not hurt that Bill O'Brien went to Ohio State either.
No, Bill O'Brien made. I was gonna say Bill O'Brien made Zach Swinick 1,000-yard rusher. So
it's true. Yeah, I mean, he hurt my feelings enough 12 years ago or 11 years ago. So
I'll be interested to see how long that relationship lasts and how long he's going to be there. I can't imagine he's there for more than a couple of years. I'm also curious to see how well he does recruiting. I don't think they're going to ask him to be this massive recruiter because they have so many great ones there. But that's an interesting part of this too. Like, how well is he going to be able to recruit, if any? So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Brian Hartline's on the staff. Ryan Day is on the staff. Larry Johnson's on the staff. So they're probably not going to ask him to do all that much in recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I know the recruiting was something that lots of people have said Bill O'Brien did not like to do. And Bill O'Brien was always more of a football coach that he wanted to coach the game. And in today's day and age, it's a lot more
Head coaches really can't do that, right?
Like, I don't think he would ever. Well, I don't want to say ever because money talks, but I think he would be very, very miserable being a college head coach again because he could barely. I just don't think he liked the job that much back in 2012, 2013. I mean, with all the changes that have been in college football,
just the NIL stuff,
just with NIL, with transfer portal, that didn't exist back then.
Well, he had to deal with it, but yeah.
Well, not really. Like, the portal wasn't around. He had to deal with transfers, but
right. But it was those guys could all still transfer whenever they wanted.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But I also don't think he would have taken the job if he knew that those sanctions were coming.
That's true. Yeah.
And he was already there, so you're not gonna quit. I mean, so at that point, you're not gonna quit then. So I mean, he had to kind of stick around for.
No, I'm just being devil's advocate. I 100% agree. I don't see it, but crazier things have happened. He's still gonna have to deal with that to a certain degree, as an OC.
And don't forget, Corey, Bill O'Brien. I'm 100% convinced. If he was offered a head coaching job that first year, he was gone to the NFL. I just don't think he wanted to stick around that much. And it's nothing, like I said, it's nothing personal. I don't think he really loved being a college football coach, a college football head coach. Being an OC, you could focus more on the X's and O's than you would being a head coach. I think Corey Geiger, I think I brought this up before. And his pod, he made a good point. Like, how much of James Franklin's job is actually just coaching X's and O's?
Right.
And coaching guys up. Not very much.
Not even at the high school level anymore.
No. And then, I mean, in the NFL, certainly there's a bit that's a lot of, that's basically all you do, but you just have to do so much more politicking, talking to boosters who you probably never spoke to before. And I'm the same way. I really wouldn't want to do it. I'd be like, what? I have to go talk to this guy now.
Yeah. No,
I was just telling my play.
Well, he was at the basketball game the other day.
Yeah.
Franklin was not O'Brien.
Yes. And I don't think, but that's what you have. That's the kind of thing that you do as a college coach, because you're also more, in my mind, more so than the NFL. You're more tied into the community. As a college coach, especially in a town like State College.
No doubt about it. Before we have another NIL conversation that we're going to wrap up the show with, before we get there, just wanted to kind of give an update on the 2025 class as we kind of move in that direction. Penn State currently has 8 commits in the 2025 class. Excuse me as I burp. Thank you very much. Recently just got a offensive tackle in Owen Alcine from Connecticut, 6'7", 275. Hearing a lot of positives about this guy and how he could continue to kind of grow into a big prospect. I think that was 10 days ago that he committed. I'm going to quickly run through the other members of the class. Amari Gaines, defensive back from Newark, New Jersey. Beckham Kritza, the quarterback from Colorado, who's been committed for a while now. Still technically a 3-star guy. Xavier Thomas from Central Catholic. He's a corner. Tiki Hayes running back from West Pennsylvania. Keandre Barker, running back from Texas. He's been committed, Sean, for a long time as well. Brady O'Hara from North Catholic in Pittsburgh. Tight end, 4-star guy. And DJ McClary from New Jersey, linebacker, 4-star guy. So those are the current commits. Sean, before you talk about those, I also just wanted to mention that On3 had their final rankings released for the 2024 class. And there were some movement. Biggest one, Cooper Cousins, 5-star guy, which is pretty cool to see. I think technically Luke Reynolds dropped to 4-star, which is annoying because it had 2 5-stars, but whatever. Also, Peter Gonzalez got up to 4 stars, which is nice to see. We've been kind of beating on our desk and kind of screaming and shouting for Gonzo to get a little bit more love, and he did. So we'll take all the credit for that. A couple other guys moved a little bit down or up. Those are the 2 that really stood out to me, Sean. Thoughts on 2025 class and what I just mentioned, 2024 guys?
Yeah, they're up to number 7 in the country according to 24/7 Sports. So, and then Alicine. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, like
cool
you said,
name.
Very cool. Like you said, 6'7", 275. And something Penn State had struggled with, especially in years past, prior to 2024, really, was recruiting true tackles. And now you're bringing Garrett Sexton last year. You bring this kid in this year, and I think there's more of an emphasis on bringing in those true tackles and not just having to shift guards out to tackle. So I think that could pay dividends. Egan Boyer, he's another one from the 2024 class. So overall, I think they're off to a pretty good start. And they just had their junior day, which is always a big thing at Penn State. And a lot of these guys were on campus as well as prospective recruits. So I don't think we're after anybody at this point to commit in February. So I think that's it for the 2024 class. I agree with you. It's pretty cool that Cooper Cousins is a 5-star guy. According to On3, and according to us, he's a 5-star guy. So, and according to us, Peter Gonzalez, also a 4-star guy. So, definitely cool to see them getting the recognition. Luke Reynolds is still a 5-star guy, in my opinion. So, a guy that I'm really excited about in the 2025 class that I think is a little bit underrated is Tikwe Hayes from Aliquippa. Like, you just watch him play high school, and he's just running at a different speed than everybody else. So I'm really, really excited to get him on campus. When I know we're a long way from it now, but he's probably the guy I'm most excited about as far as committed guys right now.
Sean, I'm just looking around here. I thought offensive tackle Jalen Matthews had committed to Georgia. Did he never officially commit to Georgia?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I see that they got some crystal balls into him, but for some reason I thought he had officially committed.
Yeah, as far as I know, he's not.
Okay.
I don't expect him to come back here, but
also
Georgia,
I find it funny, Penn State's been on his radar for a while. Georgia obviously, took an official visit in the fall. But it makes me laugh when a school like USF offers a scholarship after he's not from Florida or anything like that either. Like, why even bother offering him a scholarship? Like, why even have he's not coming to USF?
Shoot for the stars, even if you miss. Or shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. That just always cracked me up.
That would be really something, though, if he ended up at USF.
Yeah, watch him end up at USF via 2 portal transfers 3 years from now.
I mean, hey, Deion was able to get Travis Hunter to Jackson State, but that's Deion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
What do I know? He's from Tom's River, which feel like everybody from New Jersey's from there.
Tom's River. Yeah, I don't know that many Jersey people, which is weird because I'm the Eastern PA person here.
Yeah. Famous baseball player from Tom's River. Played for the Phillies.
Are you asking me? Mike Schmidt? Chase Utley?
Maybe it wasn't the Phillies. I was thinking of Todd Frazier.
Oh, he was a Yankee.
Well, he's a Red too. I was thinking when he's at the Reds, but yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Yeah.
saw the
the Derek Jeter thing, yeah.
well, that, and also they had the year Tom's River made it in the Little League World Series.
Yes.
There's a whole big deal with Todd Frazier. It was like almost like too much.
Yeah, they mention it every time he's on, like some other things that people.
Anywho,
it's like a knee-jerk reaction to associate people with certain things.
All right, Sean. 2025 class, 2024 class is pretty much done. 2025 class is off and running. I want to wrap up the show with a light conversation on NIL. I think we almost talked about this a couple times. Let's just save it for the off season, but it's a difficult one for me because, I mean, you and I even stand, I think, a little bit different on this because. So name, image, and likeness is to the point right now where, there's a bunch of collectives. Well, I guess in Penn State's case, there's one, but there's a bunch of collectives. I'm curious if 2024 is the year of like donor fatigue for some collectives. Mercury, who we are associated with, they do a lot of work with collectives, not just with Penn State, but with collectives all over the country. I think they're just down at Kansas State. They do stuff with a lot of different groups of athletic groups. And it's awesome that they're doing that because I think what Mercury's doing is at least providing a reason for somebody to join a collective, which I can appreciate. I really get frustrated with the collectives that do not really put any effort into it. They just want your money. Well, and they say, well, you're supporting athletics by doing that. I think there's going to be massive donor fatigue this year, and I think this conversation is going to be one we probably have a couple times, Sean. It's difficult for me to donate to an NIL collective. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong to do so, but it's difficult for me. Now, again, I am not some random person off the street, right, Sean? Like, I understand where NIL is and how important it is at the moment to be successful, at least to a certain degree. And yet I am still not motivated to contribute. So kind of two parts to this story here, where you have one group of people, really dedicated fans that are contributing to NIL, and they will come after every fan and people like me and say, hey, if you're not donating, then you're the reason that Penn State's not winning national championships, and it's your fault. And then they might call me a name or two, whatever. And then there's people like me that are like, I really support Penn State football. I'm a season ticket holder. I have a podcast where I literally talk about Penn State football twice a week during the season. But I just don't think that's the way I want to contribute. Maybe I'll contribute to other things at Penn State at some point, but I don't see the value in contributing to NIL specifically. And I think that's an okay camp to be in. The other camp doesn't necessarily think that's okay. Sean, you're I think somewhere in the middle because like you do donate, but you're also not texting me every day saying, why am I not donating? You know what I mean? And so I want your thoughts on that before I kind of get into why maybe that first group, although annoying, isn't even wrong either, because I don't think they are.
I think at this point in college football, schools ask more from fans than ever before, and it's not remotely close. And the players make money, coaches make more money than God now, and the fans are the ones losing the money. Like, we're the only ones not making any money here. And then you take somebody like Cory, and there are thousands of people like you that are season ticket holders that go to all the games. We're in a bit of a unique spot because we have a podcast, and it's a fairly popular podcast. So, I mean, we're in the Penn State media sphere, at least social media sphere. So we're a little bit different in that way. But most of the fans, a good portion of the fans, are season ticket holders, and they they put their tax refund towards season tickets. They 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 take money from their 401k for season tickets. Like, we don't have a super wealthy fan base. We're in Pennsylvania. Now, are there really rich people that support Penn State? Of course. But like, the by and large, we're middle class fan base. So to say, okay, now, if you want to beat Ohio State, you want to beat Michigan, you want to beat Oregon, you have to go and give Penn State more money to fund, to give to the players. That's a big ask for a lot of people. Now, do I get insulted that they ask? No, because the reality of college football today is that's what you need to do. Like, we need we need a lot. We need NIL. Now, does every fan need to contribute? No. I don't shame anybody for not contributing to NIL. You can only do what you can do. I think the bigger problem is the system. This is not what it should be. It shouldn't be crowdfunding from fans making 50, 60, 70, 80, heck, $100,000 isn't as much money as it once was. A year, it's unfair to ask them to go and just contribute to NIL to keep Abdul Carter on campus, or to go get the new recruiter, the new transfer portal guy. It's just a lot to ask for. I think what needs to be done is revenue sharing, because this model is not sustainable. Just not. And the problem Penn State faces too, that a lot of these other fan bases don't, is our whales, like our Terry Pagulas. They don't want to contribute. And the reason a guy like Terry Pagula doesn't want to contribute is he built the hockey rink. So you could kind of understand that, but even a lot of our other big time donors, they don't want to do it. For one reason or another. Some of them involve Joe Paterno, who passed away 12 years ago. So that's part of our issue too. So we face some unique challenges at Penn State.
Sean, but here's my thing, right? Even if, because I agree with everything you just said, but I thought about that the other day. Like, even if I won the lottery, say I after taxes brought in $230 million or something stupid like that, I still don't know if I would contribute. I would probably contribute something, but I probably wouldn't contribute an insane amount of money. And maybe it's just me, right? Maybe that's just my mindset. But football, as much as I love it, fits into a specific part of my life, right? There are other things I do value, believe it or not, outside of football. And it's not even about having money or not having money. It's about, is this really what we should be putting money towards? Like, is that really where we're at? Especially,
well, no, of course not.
and
yeah, no.
And you said how much money is involved now. It will always leave a bad taste in my mouth that we're asking, like you said, that in most circumstances, people that are not making very much money to continue to contribute, when there are people out there that are taking massive percentages of these TV deals while at the same time ruining the game that we love. So they are not only taking more money away, but they're flooding with more commercials. They're changing the rules of the game so they can get more commercials. They at the same time are the same ones telling us it's your fault if your team isn't good. And that's just, it's a bad taste in my mouth, and it makes me not want to participate. And to take it a step further, the people that do participate and do contribute, what upsets me even more is they want people to contribute, but then they don't really want anything to do with you. And it's not like, before, where if I was a fan and I wasn't contributing and I was just a season ticket holder, yeah, you can complain and whatever, but you don't really have any sort of entitlement. Like, you don't really have any say, and you really don't have a leg to stand on. But now, if you're going to tell me that you need my contributions and you need me to support you in order for us to be successful, well, now you can't tell that fan that they're not entitled. It doesn't work that way. It is hard to argue that those people don't have a right to complain, don't have a right to be entitled, because they are now literally putting not just their season ticket money, not just their Saturdays, but their actual money into something that really shouldn't be a thing anyway. That is just, it's difficult for me to honestly conceptualize it, and really hard for me to illustrate my feelings on it, because as I try to reason it in my head, I just kind of feel like a mouse in a maze. Like I can't comprehend that we've gotten to this point. And I'll be frank with you, Sean. It has ruined some of my ambition towards college football. I hate to say it. Like, love talking to you, love talking about Penn State football, but it has 100% changed the way I look at the sport. And it's sad. And there's so many things that go into it, but I see all the time about the collectives and donating, and I want Penn State to be successful. I don't know if, every collective is built the same as far as how they should be trying to crowdsource that money. But the principle of it all, Sean, between everything you've said and then the fact that they don't want fans to be entitled after they've basically given them the ticket to be entitled, it's really difficult for me to comprehend.
I kind of think of it similar to how I think about tipping at restaurants. So you go in America, we're one of the only countries that tip waiters, waitresses, and bartenders. Why? Well, in this country, restaurants pass paying their staff onto the customer. Is that right? No, that's not the way it's supposed to be. Like, these restaurants just get off scot-free, and everybody does it. So I can't even, I'm not saying the restaurant owners are bad people, but in order to compete in this country, that's what you have to do. But no, you don't charge your customers to pay for their dinner, pay for their lunch, pay for their breakfast, and then say, oh yeah, that person that was serving you, you have to pay them too. Just not right. Now, do I do it? Yes, because I want that person to be able to leave with some money in their pocket. It's only right. That's kind of how I view NIL. Do I like the system? No, it's all effed up. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to ask the local plumber to go and pay for Drew Aller's, what are they driving around? Teslas. No, that's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way it is. And like I said, I'm not saying anybody is wrong for not contributing to NIL. Please don't take it that way. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it is vital to Penn State's success that we do have a big NIL fund. Like, part of the reason we haven't had people transfer out that we know of for NIL reasons is because our collective's pretty good, from what I hear. I don't think it's on Ole Miss's level. I don't think it's on Georgia's level. I'm not saying it's up there, but I think it's pretty good. And we don't really have to worry about that as much. So I just kind of think it's the way you need to compete for. I don't think it's going to be permanent. I think this is going to change. I think there's going to be a ton of change in the years. And there's already been a lot. Most fans don't think it's been good change. There's going to be a lot of change in the next 10 years when it comes to NIL. I think revenue sharing is just inevitable, and we should just do it already. It's one thing that I definitely agree with Jim Harbaugh on. But let me ask you this, Cory. I want to ask you, what exactly puts the bad taste in your mouth specifically so bad that you wouldn't want to contribute to NIL? Even if you had unlimited funds.
There's just so many reasons for it, right? I mean, number one, I don't agree with the principle of it, which I understand your point completely. I think you actually had brought up a really good point. Number two, like you said, we have season tickets. We, at the bare minimum, give up 7 Saturdays in the fall, not just to watch the game, but to tailgate, usually before and after. Have friends come in, stay with us, food, lunch, breakfast, everything for the entire weekend. I know so maybe some of that doesn't necessarily contribute right to Penn State, but it does to State College, which is what they've always harped on anyway. So in a way, we are contributing that, and I don't have a desire to then contribute more. And so let's say this, like I have $50 right now that I could spend per month to something if I wanted to. Choose not to, but I could, and it wouldn't kill us. It wouldn't, I wouldn't be shaking my boots to make that payment every month if I had to. I drive a beat up truck. I don't even have a car payment. So in a way, I am way ahead of a lot of people that are contributing to the NIL collective because I don't even have a car payment. So I could probably donate up to a car payment every month if I wanted to. But it becomes like an opportunity cost, right, Shawn? Like, am I going to contribute a car payment worth a month or even $50 a month towards the collective versus something else? And maybe right now I don't even know what that something else is, but that's how on me. It's just I want Penn State to be successful, but I don't want it to be because I'm having to contribute $50 a month. Because what happens when it's $50 a month turns into $100 a month? Like, at what point do you price people out? At what point is it just too much? And then the final thing, and probably this is how it originally started. Back when it was, I forget the name of the collective, when it was, I guess, a year and a half ago. Gosh, that might have been 2 years ago now, Shawn. When you first started contributing, you could contribute just $1 a month if you wanted to. I was like, okay, maybe I'll consider doing that. Just, whatever, $1. And I didn't even do it then. So it's not necessarily about the money, but even then I wasn't sure, like, what am I getting for it? Like, besides getting to call other people out on Twitter and saying you're not, contributing, like, I don't really care about the opportunity to buy selective merch. I, have had the privilege to meet a lot of the players when I was at Nittanyville. We have the, privilege of speaking with a lot of former players on the podcast. I honestly, when it comes to the players and interaction with the players, I honestly kind of respect their privacy to a certain degree. Like, I would love to have some of them come on the show and talk about themselves and give themselves the chance to show their brand and potentially show their personality a little bit. But as far as like me needing to hang out with them or being with them, like, I kind of respect their privacy in the sense of they're still college kids and I want them to have the same experience that I had. And that's probably not possible, but I don't need that aspect. I don't need the meet and greets, Shawn. I don't need any of that. You know what? It would get me to contribute more is if I got to pay $5 a month and I got to do like a film session breakdown with Manny Diaz. That I would contribute to that right away. So if anyone's out there from the collective that is listening, that to me is something that would make me want to contribute. But typically, Sean, from the get-go, wasn't motivated by what they were providing. And then as things continue to get more disgusting, now it's just a heaping pile of things where I'm like, I haven't even considered it for a while. I haven't even considered it. I think there's better leadership now than there probably was, and it seems like they're more organized now, and I'm glad they've consolidated things. And I'm gonna 100% support them. I'll retweet their stuff if somebody wants to come on the podcast and talk with us. Absolutely, I'm not wishing them the worst. I'm just honestly not even considering contributing at this point. Is that enough reasons?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't asking to be snarky. I just want to know exactly
why.
No,
I know. Yeah.
No. Like what do you say to the people too? Because I want to know where you weigh in on this. That say, well, we're stagnant now. What's the point in contributing to NIL? Like, I think especially this last season, has disincentivized people to contribute. And I really feel like I think there's two ways to look at that. I think there's a portion of the fan base, and I'm not one of them, but there is a portion of the fan base that's like, we're never going to get over the hump with Franklin. Why am I going to waste my money throwing in an NIL? There is another side of the fan base, which I tend to be more favorable toward, which says, well, a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. would sure be nice to have on our team. And you look at the 5-star guys. Now, I know Cooper Cousins, Luke Reynolds, we were able to nab a couple of them, but in general, like we don't get that many 5-star guys on campus, even for visits. And a lot of that is because our NIL funds we can't keep up with the Georgias, the Ohio States, even the Ole Misses of the world, Texas as well. So I think, so where do you weigh in on that? Like, do you think there's fatigue and potential fatigue due to people just not being happy with the way that the football program is being run right now?
Well, two things. Yes, I think there is fatigue. I think there's going to be fatigue of whoever the coach was. I think we're getting to that point where it's been around for a couple of years. I think they maybe got a little momentum back for Penn State specifically when they've reorganized the collective to potentially rejuvenate it a little bit. But yeah, there is fatigue. I think there's always going to be fatigue now because only so many teams see results every year that they want to see. I would probably say 90% of fan bases are not happy at the end of the year. To your second point, Penn State never got that many 5-star guys on campus to begin with. I mean, let's just be honest with it. Penn State's never, even if NIL didn't exist, they were never going to recruit at the level of Georgia or Ohio State. Never going to happen, USC, etc. Never has been the case, never will be the case. They will pluck 5-star guys when it's regionally accessible to them. And then they're going to live on 4 and 3 stars they then develop. They'll find a couple gems in those 4 and 3-star guys that turn to be amazing stars like the Saquons. They will not recruit at the Ohio State level. Now, I don't think you need to win a championship. I don't. I think you got to get lucky. I think you got to have a really good quarterback. And I think you got to be able to develop really well. I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan hasn't recruited any better than Penn State. And they were able to develop. They got a couple things to follow their way. I don't think they had that great of a quarterback when it was all said and done. But they had a really favorable schedule. We always talk about how important it is to have a good schedule when you are really good and it all lines up perfectly for you. And they just played their game and they got it done. So congrats to them. But I don't think it's rocket science. Like, you can win when you have a lot of 5-star guys. But I'll say this, Sean, I am not motivated by you telling me we might get more Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, and that's why. I'm not saying you're telling me I need to do this because of it. But if somebody would tell me, Cory, if you donate, we can get more Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, I'll just point at the Justin Shorters of the world and say, huh? Right? Like, it's like the old Moneyball, Billy Bean thing. You can't sit there in a living room and tell a kid he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and he has a crystal ball for what that person and that player is going to be. We don't know that. You make some really good guesses. The recruiting folks do a good job at getting right a lot of the times. I understand the blue chip ratio is important, but when it comes down to specific players, especially in a way of transfer portal, you might even only have a guy for a year before he leaves anyway. But you can't sit there and tell me that now we're going to get more because we have a larger fund. Will we probably bring in more higher rated players? Yes, potentially. But we don't know if they're going to be any good. We don't know if they're going to be a good fit. And they might even be good, but they might not fit in with the program. So I'm not ever going to be sold on we might get a couple more guys. You're right. We might get one or two more better guys out of the transfer portal. Maybe that would have made the difference last year. That doesn't motivate me enough.
Yeah, but you never know how it ends as far as the 5-star guys go. Like, yeah, a guy could be a bust, a guy could be a superstar, but I'd rather take more chances on 5-star guys. Now,
yeah, I would too,
Penn
but I
State,
don't think I don't want to take that chance with my money.
yeah, and I understand that. I understand that. And like I said, like the pain in the rear end of it all is everybody agrees this is the way it's supposed to be, including the players. The players want revenue sharing, because think about it from a player's perspective. Okay, you have an NIL deal. You sign an NIL deal. You're a freshman. You're redshirt. All of a sudden, you don't have an NIL deal anymore. Like, what? Like, because these things are so year-to-year base a lot of the times. Now, you could sign, and this is part of my problem I do have with NIL. Like, everybody has a different deal. And there are some collectives that are very unreliable, and they're writing checks that they can't cash. And then that's why you're seeing now, not at Penn State, I'll say that. Penn State, it doesn't really happen. But at Tennessee, at Florida State, and Florida State was a damn good team this year. A lot of transfers even out of Georgia. I think a lot of time these guys sign up for NIL deals that look great on paper out of high school, or great on paper if they had a really good freshman year, and then all of a sudden somebody passes them out their sophomore year, and then they're not getting money anymore. And the problem is these deals that they sign are so unreliable. And I have a feeling a lot of these deals that they sign are with shady ass people that you can't trust. So that's why this system just does not work. And it's a deeper issue than, blaming Cory Lestochi for us not getting Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, no. It's the system.
Take the heat. You can put it on me, Sean. You can put it on me.
I do not. Yeah, it's a deeper problem. But I will still maintain, like, the way you keep up is with NIL. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. It's one of the ways you keep up, because your example with Michigan is 100% correct. Like, from what I understand, Michigan's they're not raking in the money up there either. Like, now they're getting more because they just won the national championship. But prior to that, no, we were about on the same level as Michigan is when it comes to NIL. Certainly on the same level when it comes to recruiting.
Do you think that Penn State would see a larger bump if they won the national championship?
100%. 100%. I think a lot of the issue is people have problems with Franklin. And people just kind of think that the program has plateaued. And
that's probably fair.
And then they're like, well, I already go to all the games. Now you want me to pay more to, I don't know, get a bunch of guys that we're not going to beat Ohio State with. And maybe that's an unfair way to view it.
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of people do.
True.
That's just the reality.
Yeah, because I didn't think about it like that. I just thought of it as like, well, we just won the national championship without my donation, so why would I need to donate?
State you're actually right. That's 100% what they'll think. They'll be like, you know what? I'm not donating anymore because we got what we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, hey, we won a national championship. I just wanted to see one in my lifetime. We're good now.
Cory, it's funny you bring that up because back in the day, one of the arguments against before the Lash building was renovated was, Franklin started talking more and more after we won the Big Ten about how, hey, we need to renovate Lash. We need to put money in the Lash. Some of the arguments against that were, well, you just won the Big Ten. Why do we need to renovate Lash? Like that's literally an argument you would absolutely hear. Now, I think that would mostly fall on deaf ears because people would be like, hey, winning's fun. I'm going to go contribute. I think that's how most people would view it. But there will be people out there that view it the opposite way.
No, yeah. I don't know. We could talk about this forever. I'm sure we'll talk about this many more times. In the coming months as things, I'm sure, continue to elevate and change. Like I said, I will say this again, Mercury, people that management, if you will. First of all, we're selling t-shirts officially. I don't know if we've said anything since that's been posted. We're selling t-shirts on the Mercury store. Make sure you go buy a Hackenberg is my boss shirt. I will say this, like they, again, are providing content that a lot of these collectives can't provide themselves. And so that's an awesome benefit. So they didn't pay me to say that, by the way, Sean.
Yeah, let me tell you about Mercury. So Mercury's this great company that we don't have another commercial. Albeit moutyhealth.com. But yeah, I agree with you though. I agree. When that's what makes something like Mercury really, really worthwhile. And this is not a commercial. But you get content, you get player content, you get us. Like we're part of the content that you get. So
for better or worse.
For better or for worse. And yeah, we'll keep it at that. For better or for worse.
Well, Sean, I'm good if you're good.
Yeah, this was fun.
We'll have to see. We'll start, now that we're officially into the new season, as we head into February here, see if we can get some special guests on the show. I kind of want to I want to branch out and get some different guys. I know we're already having some conversations, but I also do want to get Donnie Collins back on because he was pretty adamant about what Drew Aller was going to be around this time last year. I don't remember exactly when we had him on. I think it was around this time. And I'm kind of want to hear what his thoughts are now and if they've changed a little bit. But I'll have to talk to our boss and see who else we can get on the show.
We'll talk to Christian Hackenberg.
We'll have to get him on the show. I assume now that he's our boss, he's upgraded his Wi-Fi. We'll see if we can get him on the show.
I hope so.
I got to figure out mine too. I can't even talk until I get mine all. We made it through the episode for whatever that's worth.
We did. We had some bumps in the road, but we're here.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys being here, especially those that are listening right now. Means you're not going away for the whole offseason. So we appreciate that. No offseason here at Hardcore Penn State Football. For Sean Kane, I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football.